I'm the daughter of that other woman, the one who stabbed my dad to death before jumping off a building to kill herself. I was 6 that year when my father's wife took me back home. Her name is Sharon Miller. I don't call her Mom. Don't call her Mrs. Miller. I call her Sharon. 1. The floor had been scrubbed clean, but the metallic scent of blood lingered in the air. I watched as Sharon Miller was escorted inside, listening to them recount what had happened. They said the woman had suddenly snapped, stabbing my father to death in the apartment before dragging me onto the balcony, trying to throw me over. 12th floor. When my head was shoved over the edge, the wind whipped so fiercely I couldn't open my eyes, the gusts slashing at my face like knives. My throat was crushed against the railing. I couldn't scream, couldn't even whimper. The pressure strangled every sound in my windpipe. The woman's contorted face flashed before my eyes as she shrieked and tumbled over the edge. It reminded me of Munch's famous painting the scream from the art book. The entire world had gone twisted. The kid's in shock, hasn't uttered a single word this whole time. Her mother's side only has an uncle left, and he's still doing time in prison. We did manage to contact your husband's family, though they said some pretty nasty things. But this child is innocent. Sharon Miller pursed her lips at this. She was in her early 40s, slightly overweight, and wearing light makeup. She wasn't particularly attractive, with a large nose, thick lips, and a sallow complexion that foundation couldn't fully conceal. There was also a faint fishy odor about her. Beneath slightly puffy eyelids were cold eyes that looked upon everything with impatience. This wasn't our first meeting. My mother had taken me to visit Sharon several times before. At Miller's seafood stall in the market, my mother dragged me along and shouted at Sharon, "Look, just look. This is Leo's daughter with me. If he loved you, why doesn't he have children with you? I'm younger and prettier than you. I can give him as many children as he wants. Can you do that? Could you ever produce such a beautiful child?" The stall was damp everywhere. Fish blood splattered across the floor and walls. Beneath the blackened round chopping board sat a bucket for fish guts, already half full and reeking of an overpowering stench. Sharon's apron was splashed with fish blood and scales. Her sleeved hands pulled a black fish from the glass tank and slammed it onto the chopping board. The fish was still thrashing its tail, gasping for air when she chopped off its head with one swipe of the knife, then brandished the blade as she began screaming obscenities. "You fucking think you have any right being the other woman? Every damn thing you and your daughter wear and eat was paid for by Leo taking money from me. Without me, could Leo even afford a mistress? Go ahead, have as many kids as you want. They'll all be bastards, pointed at behind their backs their whole lives, never able to hold their heads up. God knows how much they'll end up hating you. You want me to divorce Leo? Fine, I'll chop his damn thing off first." My mother probably never expected Sharon to be such a vicious talker, and with a knife in her hand, no less. There's no way Mom could take her in a fight. But my mother wasn't the kind of woman to give up easily. Shameless by nature, she feared no consequences from stirring up trouble. In the mornings, she stopped taking me to kindergarten. Instead, she'd leave me at the seafood stall to watch Sharon butcher fish. I stood by the stall's edge, observing Sharon single-handedly unloading the freshly delivered fish from the cart. "Get lost, you little brat," she snarled at me with venom in her eyes. I puckered my lips, holding back tears as I took 2 steps backward. I couldn't return too early, or I'd get beaten. Sharon was the only one handling the seafood stall. During busy hours, she'd scale fish, gut them, slice them, and bag them with swift, practiced movements. But she was terrible at arithmetic, always either undercharging by a few cents or giving too much change. Sometimes she even forgot to collect payment. Our neighborhood was called Harbor District, and the marketplace was always filled with familiar faces. Everyone here knew about my father and mother, and regular customers often teased Sharon about it. "Sharon, what a saint you are, raising your husband's illegitimate child. Why work so hard? All the money you earn just goes to supporting your husband's mistress. My, when did you have such a big daughter? She's quite cute, looks just like your husband." Sharon neither got angry nor annoyed. She briefly glanced at me with impatience while chopping fish, spat, and said, "Cute my ass. She'll grow up to be just like her mother." A man walked past me with a cheeky grin, and I pointed at him, saying to Sharon, "He took fish without paying." "Who didn't pay? Don't spout nonsense, kid. You just didn't pay." "Hey, which eye of yours saw that?" He turned his head leisurely and asked Sharon, "I paid, right, Sharon?" With more customers crowding around to buy fish, Sharon was too busy to focus. Rapidly scaling the fish, she replied, "Yes, yes, he paid already." I pouted. He really didn't give. The man's face twisted with fury as he raised his hand to strike me. Sharon had already rushed over and grabbed me. "I'm swamped with work, and you're here causing trouble. Did Melody send you to mess with me? You little..." Her words suddenly caught in her throat. She fell silent for a long moment, just staring at the dark bruises mottling my thin arm where she'd gripped me. Only when a customer called for her to cut fish did she finally let go, shoving me aside with a look of utter disgust. In the afternoon, the market grew less crowded. Sharon finally had a moment to catch her breath. She quickly rinsed down her workstation, then shouted across the way to Angie for a bowl of seafood chowder. Clutching the bowl, she sprawled on a low stool, legs spread, and ate with pickled garlic. Angie crouched down in front of me, her ample chest visible through her baggy low-cut top. She pinched my cheek and said, "Call me sis, and I'll treat you to some soup." I stayed silent. With a scoff, she shoved a piece of candy into my hand, then swayed off in her short skirt. Angie's chowder didn't taste good. Dad had taken me there once. What followed was nausea and diarrhea. Among the 3 neighboring soup shops, Angie's business was the best. After finishing her meal, Sharon placed the bowl on the counter. Angie would come collect it later. "Not leaving yet?" she snapped at me. "Never seen such a stubborn brat, hard-headed just like your mom. Melody told you to spy on me, and you just obey? Can't you walk to kindergarten yourself? It's not like she planted a camera on you." I lowered my head and whispered, "Mom will find out." How long I stayed here and what happened in Sharon's shop, my mom knew everything. Everyone in the market was her informant. We stared at each other, until Sharon was the first to relent. Fine, have it your way, you little devil." 3 days later, I returned to kindergarten, because my dad went to see my mom. Sharon was never her target. I returned home from kindergarten to find the apartment noisy, with my mom screaming very loudly. The screams sounded painful, but not exactly. They were extremely unpleasant. I quite liked my dad, although he told me not to call him dad in front of others. When he won money playing cards at the bar, he would give me pocket money and take me to McDonald's. After finishing McDonald's, he would take me to the bookstore. He'd read Stephen King novels while I browsed through various art books. Occasionally, on a whim, he'd drop me off at kindergarten. Our kindergarten's new teacher had a lovely voice and was quite beautiful. My dad enjoyed chatting with her. Sharon didn't concern herself with these matters, she just focused on selling fish. But none of this could ever reach my mom's ears. When it's my dad and mom's turn to play the bed-shaking game in their room, it's my dad who makes those awful noises. I don't understand why adults enjoy torturing each other. My mom says she loves my dad and can't live without him. She stabbed him to death. 3. Sharon looked exactly the same as when I last saw her. She was that sort of woman, when you looked at her, you wouldn't imagine what she might have been like in her youth. It was as if she had always been exactly as she appeared before you now, and always would be. Countless times I wondered, why did she take me home? I was the daughter of the woman who shattered her family, forced her into divorce, murdered her husband. It's the child of that man who betrayed her. She could see the shadows of the 2 people she hated most in my face, but I can't tell if she hates me or not. If she does, it must be very different from how my mother hates me. My mother's hatred for me was unmistakable, no need to guess. Angie told me that when I was still in my mother's belly, she tried to abort me several times and even asked Angie to accompany her to the clinic. When I was 3 months old, she called my dad, got scolded, and kicked my cradle hard in anger. I tumbled onto the floor, my forehead swelling into a huge bruise. I lay there wailing for ages, but no one came to pick me up. She should have just aborted me. Some ancient Greek philosopher said the greatest blessing is never having been born, and the second greatest is dying at the moment of birth. Sharon led me back to the house behind the seafood stall. The seafood stall only closed for 2 days before reopening. She continued gutting fish and selling them, while I went to register at Harbor District Elementary School. By 4 a.m. the market was already noisy. Before opening the stall, Sharon would press $5 on the table, my breakfast and lunch money. The hot dogs at the elementary school gate cost $3 each, but the $2 ones without sauce were delicious too, far better than Angie's thick soups. Dinner was often fish stew. Sharon had excellent knife skills but terrible cooking. Occasionally even she couldn't stand it, throwing down her chopsticks to take me to a nearby diner for cheesesteak sandwiches. I recognized the man who often bought fish without paying. He didn't pay for his sandwiches either. The restaurant owner even handed him cigarettes and called him Brad. He looked much younger than the owner, probably just 25 or 26. Sharon pressed my head down and said, "Eat your food and stop looking around." 4 days later, when I came home from school, I saw a couple arguing with Sharon. What blood relation do you have with her? At least we're her father's cousins. What's wrong with taking her back with us? You're just a barren hen yourself. If you could have born children back then, would Leo have needed to seek someone outside and end up getting stabbed to death? Since you can't bear children, you just want to adopt a girl to serve you in your old age, is that it? Sharon slapped the knife down on the cutting board with a loud clang, planting her hands on her hips as she snapped, "You've got 4 daughters at home, and every single one of them was sent off to work right after elementary school. If that's how you treat your own flesh and blood, what kind of schemes are you cooking up?" The couple wasn't intimidated by Sharon's fish knife. They lunged at her to fight, overturning the basin of fish that then flopped wildly across the ground. Sharon could hold her own in a verbal spar, but when it came to physical brawls, she quickly found herself outmatched. Just as I was about to dash forward to help, my small frame was suddenly hoisted into the air. Then came a booming reprimand from above my head. "What the hell are you doing?" Brad led a group of men, each looking fierce and sinister, with 2 of them sporting full-sleeve tattoos. The couple didn't get what they wanted and left in disgrace. The people in the market told Sharon, let her uncle and aunt take her away. She's not even your own flesh and blood, just a girl. Raising her is a losing business. She'll surely abandon you when she grows up. Her mom stabbed your husband to death. If it were me, I'd want to strangle her myself. Sharon, selling fish all day has rotted your brains. Don't make her read so many books either. Once she graduates elementary school, have her help you sell fish. Just treat her as hired help. Sharon snapped back impatiently. Even if I'm raising her just to serve me later, it's what she and her mother owe me. People mocked her. Look at her, a girl who didn't even cry when her own parents died. You expect her to serve you? More like you'll end up serving her. The market was full of rats. At night, 2 cat-sized rats scurried across my bed, scaring me so badly I wet myself. I went knocking tearfully at Sharon's door. Grumbling, she got up and came into my room to clean up. Damned nuisance. I must have been out of my mind to take you in. Tomorrow you'll wash your own sheets. After she changed the bedding, I absolutely refused to stay in that room any longer. Still cursing under her breath, Sharon eventually dragged me to her room to sleep. Pee on my bed and I'll chop you to pieces. She fell asleep as soon as she lay down, snoring like a train passing by my ear, yet strangely, I felt comforted. Even ghosts wouldn't dare approach with that snoring. Afraid Sharon would scold me, I got up before dawn to wash the bedsheets and threw Sharon's changed clothes into the basin to clean them together. The soaked bedsheets were heavy, and I ended up drenched all over by the time I finished washing them, shivering from the cold. When Sharon woke up, she still yelled at me, "Who told you to wash my clothes? They're as dirty as before after washing. Don't you dare touch my clothes again. And this bedsheet, you didn't even wash off the pee smell. Utterly useless, you're hopeless." I actually helped with chores when living with my mom before. I knew how to sweep floors and cook. My mom even taught me to cook noodles on the gas stove, but I was terrified of it. Lighting the fire always scared me to death, but there were times when my mom was either drunk or didn't come home, and I had to cook noodles for myself. The kitchen counter was too high, so I had to stand on a stool while cooking. My mom says the sooner girls learn to do housework, the better. Whenever she and my dad eat at home, I have to clear the table and wash the dishes. I also help my mom with laundry, including washing her underwear. But Sharon won't let me do it, even with dishes. She only allows me to wash my own bowl. I can learn. Practice makes perfect. She wasn't born knowing how to gut fish either. Sharon said, "Who told you to learn these things? I'm not just someone who takes criticism. Didn't you say you wanted me to serve you in the future?" Sharon sneered, "If you really mean it, then get into a top university in the future, earn big money to spend on me, and hire people to wait on me." My naive young mind was struck hard. So some things that were considered essential for girls to know weren't actually mandatory after all. But Sharon would probably be disappointed. Forget about top universities. I could never even get into college at all. 5. My grades were terrible. All I ever did was doodle on my textbooks and test papers, driving my teachers mad. When the teacher came to buy fish, she'd complain about me, only to find Sharon completely unfazed. "She'll end up just like you," the teacher would smear, spending her life behind a fish stall. Sharon fired back, "What's wrong with selling fish? Earning an honest living with my own hands. No stealing, no cheating." I tried to study. I really did, but focus eluded me. Words seemed to dance before my eyes. I can't focus on studying. I just can't. I even get into fights with boys. They said I reeked of fish, called my mom a mistress and a murderer, claimed I'd grow up to be one too. They mocked Sharon with the nickname Fishwife and called me her stinky fish that she picked up from the gutter. I charged at them to fight. Don't let my small frame fool you. My teeth are sharp. Back when my mom used to fight with my dad, even though he was tall and strong, he still couldn't beat her. Sharon was called in by our homeroom teacher and learned I was a terrible student. She came back and solemnly asked me, "Tell me now, do you want to sell fish or study? If you want to sell fish, don't go to school tomorrow." Look at Angie, she dropped out of elementary school to help her family sell stew. Yvonne at the butcher shop did the same. If you don't want to study, then don't. Selling fish isn't a bad thing, at least it'll keep you fed and clothed for life. Starting tomorrow, I'll teach you how to gut fish. The thought of gutting fish made my heart tremble. But although Sharon said that, she never let me help with her accounts before, saying my calculations were wrong. Truth be told, she often undercharged, and the customers loved taking advantage of her generosity. She didn't want me helping in the shop either, saying I just got in the way. Before I could respond, another teacher arrived, Mr. Peterson, the art teacher. Sharon asked him impatiently, "Well, what trouble did she cause in your class?" Mr. Peterson produced my drawing. "Have you ever considered sending Chloe to art lessons?" Sharon burst into angry laughter. "What the hell is this supposed to be?" Mr. Peterson explained, "This is called abstract expressionism. Though the face appears distorted, it's full of vitality. You have to see beyond the surface to grasp its essence. Understand? Sharon didn't seem to take it seriously, yet at night I could hear her tossing and turning in bed. A few days later, she suddenly asked me to take out all the sketchbooks. She flipped through them one by one until she came across a portrait of herself. It was a watercolor I'd made depicting her gutting fish at the market stall. I don't know what she saw in that picture, but she fell silent for a long while. For a long while, she stared at the thick drawing paper and said, "Did you spend all the meal money I gave you on brushes and paper? No wonder you're not gaining weight or growing taller. People must think I'm mistreating you." After a long pause, she asked me, "Tell me, should I sell fish or pursue painting? I love painting, but Mr. Peterson says learning to paint is expensive. The pigments cost a fortune. Sharon works from dawn to dusk. I don't want her to toil so hard. Yet, I also know I'm not cut out for academics." I hesitated, and Sharon made the decision for me. "It wouldn't be bad to become an art teacher like Mr. Peterson someday, but you must never use meal money to buy brushes and paper again. Come to me for whatever you need, understand?" I nodded. The next day, Sharon went to see Mr. Peterson. Before visiting Mr. Peterson, she even made a special trip to the bank. When people at the market heard Sharon was sending me to learn painting, they laughed their heads off. What future could painting possibly bring? Better have her help you sell fish. I've managed fine selling alone all these years. Don't need her. All thumbs, that one, Sharon said. She enrolled me in painting classes, and every day after school I'd take the bus for 2-hour lessons. Sometimes when I returned late, I'd see her standing at the market entrance craning her neck waiting for me. The moment he saw me, he turned back into the shop to keep busy with his work. Not long after, Sharon's sister, who had married and moved to Florida, came back to visit her, bringing a man along. The man was obese and bald, with a slight limp. He worked as a chef in Florida. His wife had passed away years ago, and his children all lived abroad. He was looking for someone to keep him company. He was here for matchmaking. If things worked out, he would take Sharon to live with him in Florida. The old man was quite satisfied with Sharon, mainly pleased with her diligence. Sharon's sister Brenda persuaded her. "I told you from the start you were out of your mind. With no relation or obligation, why should you be the one to take care of her? It's not too late to send her away now. With how you look, and being sterile to boot, the chef doesn't even mind. You should count yourself lucky. Selling the seafood stall should get you at least tens of thousands back, right? What about the money you've saved over these years? Surely you've got 100 or 200,000. Withdraw it all and take it with you. Let him take care of you for the rest of your life. Wouldn't that be a good life?" Sharon chuckled as she cleaned the fish tank. "Who's to say who'll be taking care of whom?" Brenda said, "We're like sisters. Would I ever deceive you?" Sharon retorted resentfully, "What sisters? When your mom remarried my dad and took you along, didn't you two kick me out and disown me the moment Dad died?" That year Sharon was just 16, homeless and forced to drop out of school. She went door to door asking for work until the fishmonger's wife, overwhelmed after her husband's injury, asked if she knew how to gut fish. To have a bite to eat, she, who had never killed a fish before, summoned her courage and claimed she could do it, picking up the fillet knife. Brenda's expression darkened, and her voice rose an octave. "I'm only thinking about your future. Do you really think that illegitimate daughter of yours will take care of you later? Dragons breed dragons, phoenixes breed phoenixes. She'll turn out just like her mother. What'll you do when you're old? You'll die with no one to bury you. Then what good does it do me to follow some man to Florida? To be a free nanny who even pays her own way?" Sharon shooed them away. "Go on, get out. Even if my bones were thrown to feed the fish after I die, I wouldn't want you bothering about it. You're something else, Sharon. Let's see how badly you end up in the future." Brenda left in a huff with the man. Seeing me cleaning the fish butchering table, Sharon snapped, "Did I ask you to clean up? Go paint instead." Tears rolled down my face. "I won't paint anymore. Everyone says painters can't find jobs. I'll study hard and get into college from now on. Please don't abandon me." Sharon stared fixedly at me and scolded, "You useless thing. Don't you know you should work your fingers to the bone to paint something expensive?" Mr. Peterson said that someone called Van Gogh painted distorted flowers and starry skies, and his works sell for hundreds of millions now. You just need yours to sell for tens of thousands. Van Gogh only became famous after his death. No one bought his paintings when he was alive. Then when you come of age, write a statement first. I, Chloe, hereby bequeath all my paintings to Sharon Miller after my death. Life is full of uncertainties. I lost both parents at a young age, and back then, I truly believed I would die before Sharon. She could keep selling fish till the end of time. For the next few days, I didn't go to the studio. I tried to pay extra attention in class, but still found it hard to focus. Coincidentally, the final exam results came out. I ranked 10th from the bottom in my grade. Sharon couldn't escape being mocked, and Mr. Peterson said if I didn't catch up in academics, I wouldn't get into a good art college in the future. Sharon didn't scold me. She didn't say a word. She even gave me money to attend cram school. I arrive at school earliest and leave latest every day, slogging away at my studies for over half a year. When the results came out, I was so desperate I wanted to die. Out of more than 500 students in my grade, I ranked second to last, 13th from the bottom, and that was only after 2 worse students had transferred out. It wasn't until many years later that I learned there's a term for it, dyslexia. That day, Angie came looking for me and asked me to draw a portrait of her. Not long ago, I overheard her chatting with Sharon, asking why I had stopped drawing. Sharon said indifferently, "Kids lose interest in everything so quickly. Did you really think she'd become a painter someday? Then why did you keep letting her take lessons?" Angie said. "I thought she liked it," Sharon replied offhandedly. Angie was one of the few people at the market who never joked around with Sharon. Later I came to understand that it's truly rare to find someone who doesn't make jokes at others' expense. She took me to the small room above the soup shop. Her room was tiny and old-fashioned, yet tidy and fragrant, with numerous posters of celebrities and films plastered across the walls, some American and others foreign. She flopped onto the peony-patterned bedsheets, smiling with captivating charm. "First draw me with clothes on. When you're grown up, you can draw me like Rose from Titanic. Draw a few more and sign them. Once you become a famous painter, I'll sell them. Didn't Mr. Peterson say that what's-his-name Picasso could sell a mere sketch for millions? My sister believes you'll become a great painter." I hadn't painted in months, and my hand felt rusty. Angie rested her temple on her hand, squinting slightly as a golden slant of sunlight from the small window fell across her face. It was as if the sunset had kissed her. Before I could finish the drawing, a whistle sounded outside the window. Angie leaned on the windowsill looking out, then turned to me with a smile and said, "That's all for today." I descended the rusty iron staircase and saw Brad walking up with a cigarette dangling from his lips. Downstairs in the soup shop, Angie's father with a disability was busy brewing broth, while her mute mother tidied the countertops. The distance between Angie's home and the seafood stall was mere dozens of meters, yet I walked as if submerged underwater. I clenched my fists and turned to rush back, climbing the iron stairs in one breath. I pounded on the door. "Angie, I left my paintbrush at your place. Open up, open the door." The trembling and sob in my voice might give me away, but I couldn't care less. At least tonight, I would protect Angie. I'd stubbornly stay in her room, painting with her from dusk till dawn. Brad was the one who opened the door. He was shirtless, his fly wasn't fully zipped, and the tiger tattoo on his chest snarled at me. Through the crack of the door, I saw Angie sitting on the bed with her back to me, adjusting her shoulder strap. The peony-patterned bedsheet was crumpled. I glared hatefully at Brad, this hoodlum, then rammed my head hard into his stomach. "Monster, pervert, you hurt Angie. Don't you dare hurt Angie." Brad staggered when I bumped into him, but quickly and effortlessly twisted both my arms with one hand. I struggled desperately, my legs kicking and thrashing against him. At times like this, I truly hate my own short stature. My legs are just too stubby. I should have listened to Sharon and drunk more milk. He bared his teeth in a snarl. "What's your problem?" "Brad, let her go." Angie approached. I immediately rushed over and hugged her. "Angie, did he bully you?" Angie smiled. There was always a smile at the corners of her lips, and ruffled my hair. "No, he didn't bully me. I don't believe it. He did bully you. He hits people." I looked up at Angie. "Should I draw for you? I'll draw lots and lots of pictures for you." Angie smiled, though her eyes welled up with tears. "Chloe, I wasn't being bullied. Brad is my boyfriend." Brad picked up his clothes and put them on, grumbling angrily. "If you say I bullied Angie again, I'll throw you off the building." "Fine, don't scare her," Angie said, still smiling. That evening, I told Sharon I wanted to keep learning how to paint. Before approaching her, I'd already braced myself for a scolding. Sharon was indeed cursing and grumbling. "One moment you're painting, the next you're not. If I sold fish like you work, I'd have starved long ago. There won't be a next time. If I hear you say you're quitting again, you'll come back here and get fish for me." She scolded me, but the next morning, she was at the bank as soon as it opened. She asked Mr. Peterson to find me a teacher from the Rhode Island School of Design to mentor me. Mr. Vance lived downtown, and I went to see him on weekends. He has a son my age, also learning to paint, named Caleb. Caleb seemed to dislike me and never spoke to me. Mr. Vance asked Caleb to help me with my academic studies, and he was quite harsh when explaining problems to me, but I could actually follow what he said. Knowing I couldn't read too much text, he would draw all kinds of diagrams to break things down. When I was about to go home, my teacher's wife would always have Caleb accompany me to the bus stop, instructing him to wait until I boarded the bus before leaving. Caleb would often leave the moment we reached the stop, never looking back. After waiting a long time without the bus arriving, a sleazy old man suddenly appeared beside me. The stop was completely deserted except for me and the old man. The place felt rather remote. Suddenly the old man lunged and grabbed me tightly. I screamed wildly, swinging my fists at him as he covered my mouth and dragged me into the woods behind us. The memory of my mother dragging me to the balcony flashed through my mind. I felt like prey caught in a hound's jaws, as overwhelming panic seized me. Suddenly the hound released its grip once more. As I fell to the ground, I saw Caleb chasing the old man with a stick in hand. It wasn't until we were at the police station, watching Sharon rushing over with her fish-cleaving knife in hand, that I finally burst into loud sobs. 9. Where's that dead bastard? I'll chop him up. Filth. Stinking man. Shameless old creep. Sharon kept cursing nonstop. I've always known she had quite the mouth on her, though some of the vocabulary she came up with still managed to surprise even me. That night Sharon sat by the bed and watched me for a long time, then reached out to touch my face while thinking I was asleep. The next day she kept her shop closed and stayed with me the whole day. People at the market all thought I must have contemplated suicide, since the last time Sharon closed her shop was when her husband died. On the third day, I got up to go to school. Sharon walked me to the school gate and didn't turn away until she saw me enter through the main entrance. After school in the afternoon, she came to pick me up and took me out to eat. I'm fine now, I told her to go back to selling fish. She kept putting food in my bowl, saying, then eat quickly. On the fourth day, Sharon slipped me a brand new flip phone. Her number was already saved in the contacts, listed simply as Sharon. Yvonne from the butcher shop came over holding her 1-year-old daughter to advise me. It's because you're pretty, this kind of thing will keep happening. Look at Angie, she's used to it. Why else would she date a punk like Brad? Then there's Sharon, everyone calls her tomboy. She's fierce like a man. Do you see guys trying to grope or hug her? Maybe you should cut your hair short and act tough like Sharon. Sharon shooed her away. If you don't know how to talk, then don't force it. Instead of blaming those disgusting men who can't control themselves, you're telling women to be less pretty or dress modestly. Your daughter's pretty too, might as well disfigure her now. Besides, if you ever blame your daughter when some man harasses her in the future, you don't deserve to be her mother. Yvonne held her daughter tightly and walked away angrily, while my eyes grew moist with emotion. Sharon told me very earnestly that what happened wasn't my fault at all. On the weekend, I went to Mr. Vance's house as usual for painting lessons and cultural tutoring. The bus hadn't reached the stop yet when I spotted Caleb waiting at the platform from afar. After sending me to the bus, he'd wait until I boarded and watch the bus drive away. When tutoring me, he wasn't as harsh anymore. Whenever I made a mistake and he was about to lose his temper, his voice would rise slightly, but upon meeting my gaze, he'd immediately soften again. Other than that, he still barely spoke to me. One day I asked if he hated me. After a long pause, he finally said, I don't hate you. I hate myself. Huh? He sighed. You can draw so effortlessly and well, while I try so hard, yet my dad still says my drawings are terrible, that they lack soul. But I really envy you. You have such wonderful parents. How I wish I was born into a normal family, with loving parents who doted on me. You do draw better than me, and I've come to realize it might be better for me to learn something else sooner. Keller quickly confessed to Mr. Vance and his wife that he wouldn't be applying to art school. What kind of school are you planning to apply to? I asked him. With his hands stuffed in his pockets, he seemed much more relaxed, and even more pleasant to look at, since quitting painting. MIT, probably. Me. From afar, I could already spot that figure standing at the school gate. He stood slightly hunched, hands also in his pockets, but clearly uncomfortable, his neck covered in tattoos. The moment I saw him, he saw me too, grinning broadly as he approached. It was my uncle. He had been released from prison. Chloe, you've grown more beautiful over the years. I almost didn't recognize you, he said, flashing a 10. Bearing a mouthful of yellowed teeth, he grabbed my arm. I'm your only family left in this world. You're coming with me. No, I won't go with you. I'm not going, I said, wrenching free before pulling out my phone to call Sharon. The call hadn't even connected when the phone was snatched from my hand. Sharon must be loaded to buy you such a fancy phone. You're still a student. What do you need a phone for? Let your uncle borrow it for a few days. He'd been imprisoned over a decade ago for sexually assaulting women. Before he went inside, my mother took me to see him, slipping him a few $100s to flee. He complained it wasn't enough, cursing viciously, and raised his fist to strike my mother. My mother was terrified of him. On the way back, she ducked into a shop to make a phone call from a landline. When she came out, she walked so fast it seemed she wanted to shake off everything, even her own shadow. Soon I couldn't keep up with her. Left at an unfamiliar intersection, I couldn't tell which road led home. One thing became instantly clear to me. My mother wasn't coming back for me. I'd been abandoned. Tears fell in heavy drops, but I didn't dare let out a single sob. My mom often frightened me, saying that crying children would be snatched away and eaten by the demon bear. It wasn't until later that I learned there was no such thing as a demon bear, just a mother who didn't want to comfort her child. Sharon pedaled her fish delivery tricycle past me, going a dozen meters before finally stopping. She turned her head and gruffly shouted for me to get on. The back of the tricycle was dirty and fishy smelling, but Sharon's pedaling figure looked like a small mountain. This strangely put my mind at ease. I knew that as long as I followed her, I could make it home. I tore free from my uncle's grasp at the school gate and ran desperately toward Miller's seafood shop in the harbor market. A crystal clear voice in my heart told me that place was my real home. My uncle soon caught up. Sharon was in the middle of gutting fish. Holding her filleting knife, she shielded me behind her and pressed the blade against my uncle's throat, glaring fiercely as she threatened, "If you lay another finger on her, I swear I'll slice you to pieces." The uncle pointed at her nose and yelled, "I'm her blood uncle. Who the hell are you to her?" I had no choice before, but now I'm out, and from now on, I'll take care of her. Sharon unhurriedly went into the house, dug out the adoption papers, and threw them in the uncle's face. "Take a good look at what I am to her on these papers. What makes you think a convict like you gets to take care of her? You've committed crimes, rape, you sick bastard. Don't believe me? Let's go to court and see whose side the law takes." She seemed well prepared. The market was crowded, and people started pointing at the uncle. Brad also arrived with backup. Uncle slinked away with a disheveled look. Through the crowd, I saw Brad and his men follow behind him. I reached out to pick up the documents, only to realize my right arm was dislocated, probably injured when struggling free from Uncle. Only now did the pain register. Among those papers was my adoption certificate, where the relationship to head of household column was filled with the word adopted daughter. Sharon had completed all the procedures to adopt me. Possessing the official adoption registration certificate, she was my legal guardian until I came of age. She flipped through the documents page by page for me. Do you know how many trips I had to make back then to get all these procedures done? Selling fish wasn't this exhausting, both physically and mentally. I almost didn't want to bring you home in the end. While she was still grumbling, I suddenly threw myself into her arms and hugged her tightly. Sharon wasn't used to such intimacy and froze stiff, then flusteredly pushed me away, saying, "What are you doing? Hurry up and go practice your drawing. Your entrance exam is in a couple of days. Get up, get up." I refused to let go, so she tried to pry my hands apart. The pain made me cry out, and she immediately released me, then took me to the hospital that very night to check my hands. 11. I went to the examination site with my right arm in a cast, but fortunately I'm left-handed, so my specialized exam wasn't affected. My cultural subject scores weren't bad either. I surpassed the Rhode Island School of Design's cutoff by 145 points. Mr. Vance and his wife called to congratulate me, and his wife was so happy she cried on the other end of the line. On the day I received my admission letter, Sharon planned to close her seafood shop to celebrate. But she remembered that something bad always happened whenever she closed the shop, so she considered it unlucky. So she kept the shop open as usual and stuck a note on the counter that read, "Fish is self-service today, pay what you want." Brenda had somehow heard the news about me getting into the Rhode Island School of Design and specifically called Sharon. "Have you lost your mind? Studying art is just burning money. You've saved quite a lot these years, and now you're going to spend it all on that bastard? Think carefully, who is she even to you?" She tried to dissuade Sharon from letting me go to such a distant place, saying it was a one-way journey with no return. She insisted she could help me find a job in Florida, and in a couple of years, even arrange a marriage for me. What are you to me? Mind your own business. From now on, stop interfering with Chloe's and my life. Sharon hung up the phone and blocked the number. Then, from layers of folded clothes, she pulled out a bank statement and shoved it into my hand. Banks had long since promoted the use of bank cards, yet she still preferred the old passbook-style account. "Chloe, people from the Harbor District never leave. This is their entire world, and it's been mine too. But not you. You'll walk out of here. Your world is so much bigger. You study painting. The more places you visit and observe, the better your art will become." I swallowed my tears, staring down at the numbers on the statement. "Sharon, you're really rich." I had to take it. Only by taking it could I put Sharon's mind at ease. Sharon said proudly, "Exactly. The more alone you are, the more you need to save money." Late at night, through the small patch of sky outside the room's window, hung an enormous round moon. Perhaps too happy, Sharon drank heavily that evening. "Sharon, why did you choose my dad in the beginning?" I seized the opportunity to ask. "Of course it's because Leo is handsome. When you get married in the future, don't be like me, look for someone handsome and devoted to you," Sharon said. I also knew that back then, it wasn't Sharon who refused to divorce. It was my father who wouldn't agree to it. Sharon never made a scene. She'd say, "If I made a big fuss and spent all day keeping an eye on a man, how could I sell fish? How could I earn money? Money is much better than men anyway." I'd never seen Sharon talk so much before. She started telling stories about me when I was little. 12. When you were 3 months old, Melody left you and disappeared without a trace. Leo brought you to me and asked me to take care of you for a few days. You grew up so lovely, the kind of adorable beauty that melts hearts from birth. Everyone in the market loved holding and playing with you. Back then, I often thought how nice it would be if you were my own child. But you happened to be Melody's. Truth is, she didn't hate you, she just didn't know how to love you. Many people in this world don't know how to love others. That wasn't her fault. She had never been loved herself. I think Sharon's biological parents must have loved her very much. As she spoke, she began berating my father again. Your dad is bad. Your dad is the worst one of all. He didn't love me. And he didn't love Melody either. He only loved himself. Chloe, why don't you go out and see the world for me? I tucked away the bank statement without spending a cent, and soon began depositing money into that account. Mr. Vance submitted my painting for competition, where it won first prize and was promptly purchased by a foreign judge on the spot. Caleb often visited me on weekends, taking me to various attractions and museums while hunting for good food, never needing me to plan anything, just letting me follow his lead. During winter and summer breaks, we'd return home together, with him always dropping me off at Harbor District before heading back to the city. It lasted for several semesters, and in our junior year, he confessed his feelings to me. At that time, there was a senior student pursuing me in such a grand way that it caused quite a stir, with constant flowers and gifts. One weekend, Caleb came to see me on his bicycle and happened to witness that senior delivering flowers to me in a convertible sports car. I ran over, grabbed Caleb, and said, "Do me a favor, pretend to be my boyfriend for 2 minutes." After sending the senior away, Caleb said, "I don't want to pretend to be your boyfriend, I want to be your real one. I like you, Chloe." I didn't agree right away. At the time, I wasn't sure if I liked him, and I wasn't ready to form a new bond with him. Caleb wasn't disappointed or discouraged. He acted just as he always had, neither forcing himself on me nor doing anything that made me uncomfortable. The second year after graduating, I confessed my feelings to Caleb. A few years later, I started holding art exhibitions around the world. A single painting could fetch millions at Christie's auction. I deposited all the earnings from my paintings into Sharon's account. I told her to spend it however she wanted, yet she continued busying herself at that fish stall. One day she came and asked me, "Are you really giving me that money, no matter how I spend it?" I teased deliberately, "Do you want it or not? You've barely touched it after all these years. If you don't spend it, I won't deposit any more next time." Sharon hurriedly said, "Yes, yes, yes. Paint more pictures and stash more money in there." I never concerned myself with what she did with the money, though I was quite curious about it. No matter how busy I was each year, for a few months you could always find me at Miller's seafood shop in Harbor District. I began sketching the women at the market, fresh vegetables, melons, fruits, cattle, sheep, chickens, ducks. These vivid colors framed the vibrant women. Beneath their laughter, scolding, and bickering lay their own set of survival rules in this little world of theirs. The market series brought me fame, with renowned galleries and collectors from various countries eagerly bidding to acquire my works. Gradually, people in the market stopped saying that learning to paint was a hopeless pursuit, especially the women there. If the story ended here, Sharon would just be an ordinary woman making a living by selling fish, confined to the small world of the market, sharp-tongued but kind-hearted, uneducated yet broad-minded. With her subtle yet deep and tolerant love, she raised me to be myself, allowing me to bloom authentically. But her story doesn't end there. What truly makes her remarkable lies ahead. 13. It all started with Yvonne from the butcher shop. After giving birth to her second daughter, she was driven out by her husband and ended up living behind Sharon's seafood shop with her 2 daughters. Next came Mrs. Davis, who sold vegetables. After her son got married and insisted she move out to rent elsewhere, Sharon took her in when she passed the seafood shop weeping. Sharon rented 2 neighboring shops struggling with poor business, then purchased and connected several residential units behind them. After renovations and expansion, gradually more people moved in. Miller's seafood shop became a sanctuary for the market women and neighborhood females. The women looked out for one another, with Sharon providing lodging and meals for those who struggled to find jobs, covering school fees for their children to remove any worries, enabling them to focus on acquiring skills and searching for employment. Beside the seafood stall, Sharon renovated those 2 shops and opened a bakery called Miller Bakery, with the logo and typography personally designed by me. Millet Bakery's glutinous rice ball series now draws such long queues that people must wait in line to get them. Angie's parents closed down their soup shop and joined the bakery instead. They finally realized that no matter what, unappetizing soup wouldn't retain customers. They could no longer let their daughter down. A few years ago, when Angie was preparing for the Certified Public Accountant exam, it was Sharon who funded her. Back then, the soup shop was still open, and Yvonne even helped out there to ensure Angie could focus on her studies. Later, when Yvonne fell ill and was hospitalized, Angie took care of her 2 daughters. Angie is now the godmother to Yvonne's 2 daughters. Miller's Seafood and Bakery is under the protection of Brad and his brothers, so no one dares to cause trouble. Any violent husbands coming to stir up trouble are promptly thrown out. Caleb's law firm handles their divorce cases for free, fighting for child custody rights. Brad had an intense sense of crisis because Angie still refused to marry him. He went to Sharon for help. Sharon told him he needed to change his aimless lifestyle. Since Angie had become a certified public accountant and landed a corporate job, He was no longer good enough for her. She advised him to get a college degree. He was an orphan who drifted to the Harbor District. Starving, he once squatted outside Angie's family soup shop when the teenage Angie brought him a steaming bowl of rich broth. To him, it was the most delicious soup he'd ever tasted. He ate it with tears streaming down his face. He ran to ask Angie if she would marry him once he earned his college diploma. Sharon added, "And you'd need to find a proper job too." Brad actually went and took the exams. Starting from scratch with only elementary school credentials, he spent over 3 years and finally earned his college diploma. When he married Angie, everyone from the entire Market District came to celebrate at their wedding banquet. I drank some too, and when Brad came to propose a toast, I glared at him and said fiercely, "If you dare bully Angie, I'll be the first to deal with you." Brad laughed nervously, saying he wouldn't dare. "I've learned my lesson from your ironhead skill." He then teased Caleb, "Counselor Caleb, are you up for it? When will we get to celebrate your wedding with Chloe?" Caleb, who hadn't been drinking, looked at me with clear, smiling eyes and said, "I've no idea. I'm waiting for Chloe to propose to me." I had to wait ages for her confession too. Sharon said, "In our Chloe's world, we don't do those they lived happily ever after endings where the princess needs a prince. Our princess can be perfectly happy all by herself." Caleb, ever the shameless romantic, chimed in with his signature confession skills. "Absolutely. Being with Chloe makes me happy, happier than she could ever be with me. She gives me more than I could ever give her. I need her far more than she needs me." He turned to look at me with that same unrelenting, burning gaze. The whole group backed me up. Damn right. If anyone's in a hurry here, it sure isn't our Chloe. I quietly squeezed Angie's hand and asked her, "Are you happy now?" Angie smiled and nodded. "I'm very happy." She took my hand and placed it on her belly. "I'm going to have a baby." "Did you get married because of the baby?" I asked, glaring furiously at Brad who was laughing and toasting with others nearby. Angie shook her head with another smile. "No, it's because I wanted a baby." She was the most beautiful bride I'd ever seen. I gazed at her still flat belly and silently spoke to the unborn life within. "Don't be afraid. You'll have a mother who loves you beyond measure, and so many others who will cherish you. You'll never be abandoned. You'll grow up happy." 14. After the wedding banquet, I had Caleb return first while Sharon and I took a walk down the street to sober up. We strolled slowly homeward. Sharon talked about renting more storefronts soon, about the Bloom Fund Caleb helped her establish that provides opportunities and funding exclusively for women, and about all the things she still wanted to learn. At 60 years old, she glowed with vitality and boundless energy. Sharon said that when she was at her wit's end back then, the owner of a fish shop took her into work, leaving her no choice but to pick up a fish knife and start gutting fish. Gut fish, or starve, she had no alternative. She hopes that for women like her, at their most desperate moments, there might be some place where other choices await them. She's working hard to create such a place, striving to provide more options for the women around her. She's truly remarkable. Oh, I forgot to mention my uncle. The year I got into graduate school, he fell back into his old ways, stalking a girl with ill intent, only to accidentally fall into an uncovered manhole. His body wasn't found until it had started rotting. The police showed me the surveillance footage of him falling into the well, saying it was an accident. They also mentioned that the area was too remote, and he hadn't died immediately after the fall. He could have been saved if someone had found him in time. The child was terrified into silence and still hasn't spoken a word. In this world, there are far more people who hurt women than those who help them. Sharon wasn't one for affectations. Our relationship was as placid as still water. She wasn't good at expressing love through words, and neither was I. But this time, I decided to be sentimental. I held her hand, tears welling in my eyes as I called out, "Mom." Sharon froze for a moment, her eyes reddening, then trembled as she pulled me into a tight embrace. The autumn night carried a slight chill, but Sharon's embrace was filled with boundless warmth. This woman didn't give birth to me, but she is my mother, and I love her. The end.